You're listening to the extended version of the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast.
Mark Who 42 Universe.
Hello, this is Peter Davison, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Everybody, welcome to Mark Who 42, and you're here for a really special episode because you know what? Wednesday, August 9th is Doctor Who Podcast Day, so we're gonna go and go into our roots and talk Doctor Who. I'm your host Eduardo M. Freyre. With me is
Vicky Jakubowski.
And Zion Quiros is here too. We're just trying to get him out of a time eddy right now. Just give us a moment. Our showrunner, Mark, the one who really started our podcast as a Doctor Who podcast, you'd think he would be on this episode since we're going to be talking Doctor Who, but unfortunately, he decided to make his own homemade TARDIS, and now he's lost somewhere in the time stream. I think I may have found him because I'm running through some historical research, and apparently there was a gentleman named Marcus who was put on trial during the Salem witch trials. According to this,
we have to get him out of there.
Well, yeah, we may have to figure something out because according to this, the clergy who were running the trial were not appreciative of his humor. So,
oh no,
yeah,
we're gonna have to boy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure a way. We're gonna have to figure a way to get him out of there because I'm guessing his dad jokes just didn't. Yeah, they're not working.
Oh, no.
Dear.
Oh no.
Dear. We're gonna have to ask. We're going to have to ask somebody if we have any listeners in the Salem, Massachusetts area, if they can find evidence of whether or not he survived. Oh dear. But you know, that's something else.
Onward
right now,
and upward.
Onward and upward. Yep, onward and upward. We shall survive. But yeah, since it's Doctor Who podcast day on Wednesday the 9th, we thought we'd talk some Doctor Who. Specifically, just talk, we do have the 60th anniversary coming up. That's not until November and we're just starting August, but that doesn't mean we can't talk, some how we got into Doctor Who and just, a little bit about history and stuff like that.
Cannot believe it's been 60 years.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, but the thing is that, I mean, even more so because it feels like yesterday that I visited Patricia for the first time in Reno, and we watched the 50th together.
Wow.
Like that's how crazy it feels. Because at the time, Trish and I were doing the long distance thing, and we she had already spent 4th of July with me. We went, she came down to Florida and, we went and we helped Mark do a convention. And, then I came up here to Reno for like 2 weeks. I got to meet, I got to spend time with her family, went to Eureka, California for the first time. And, we watched the 50th together. I remember she grabbed, we were wearing, Doctor Who appropriate gear. We grabbed standees of Captain Jack and David Tennant. We had Jammy Dodgers and whatnot. We sat and we watched the 50th, and I still remember we were amazed at when at the no sir, R14. And I jumped off the couch when Tom Baker did his cameo.
Yes.
I mean, the minute.
Oh my gosh, that was 10 years ago.
That was 10 years
really
ago.
10 years ago?
Yep, really 10 years ago. That was really 10 years ago. Now, question for you, Vicky. I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What was like your first interaction with Doctor Who?
I remember I was about 4 or 5 years old, and so I was either living in Fort Benning, Georgia, or Dayton, Florida,
Okay.
and my brother and I found it on PBS.
Yep, there you go.
And by the time we moved
PBS.
to Fort Hood, Texas, and I felt like everywhere I lived, we could watch it somewhere. From then on out, I could find it on usually on PBS. Everywhere we moved, and we moved a lot, and it was just so we watched them in a wild jumble mess, no rhyme or reason or anything. But my brother and I still are big. Actually, most of my family is huge into sci-fi, and so it just fit. And the first Doctor I remember is Tom Baker. And he was quirky. He had a crazy sense of humor, fit with me perfectly. And I wanted to go traveling through time and space. I was like, this would be fun, even with the Cybermen and the Daleks and strange other creatures and the Master. I didn't care. I wanted to go. I just
I
thought
feel you. I
about
mean,
it so much.
Yep, I feel you. My first exposure, I was like, I don't know how old. I was like a toddler. I was like a little tot. I just
Mhm.
remember and I was also PBS. Like
Yeah.
I remember it was one of those things where it's like after I was done with school, I'd spend time with a babysitter,
Mm.
and she'd put on PBS. So of course I'd get Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
and then suddenly Doctor Who would come on, and you got the weird music, and there's Tom Baker's face
Yes.
in like the time tunnel, and it's like, yeah, I have like vague snippets of episodes in my head, um, and then it's like, yeah, there was a point where as I got older, it was a little harder to like keep track, but
Yeah.
I'd catch episodes here and there. Like I do remember when we were living in Michigan. So I was like maybe 10, 11 years old at the time. We did, my dad and I were channel surfing, and we did find Doctor Who, and we had got it like with one of the cliffhangers and Brains of Morbius. So, so yeah. And then I think what kind of dragged me down, and I've been there ever since, is about uh oh, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'd say about approximately 20 years ago, give or take. I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and he brought over some of the Doctor Who VHSs, and
Mm.
we just kind of did a binge of Doctor Who stuff. We did Genesis of the Daleks, we did Planet of the Spiders,
Oh, wow.
we did the Centauran experiment. So that just dragged me in, and then I remember being like in 2006, I'm in my own apartment, and I just remember I had on TV, the TV was on, it was on Sci-Fi Channel or something, and I go into my kitchen, and then all of a sudden I hear, and coming up next, Doctor Who, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? I had to, I had to like do a double take, and I'm like, wait, are they playing the old episodes or something? Are they playing the TV movie? And yeah, next thing I know, it's the episode "The End of the World," like the second episode of season one of the new series, and there's
Ah.
Christopher Eccleston, telling her, "Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Rose. I'm the Doctor. Run for your life." It's like, wait a
So
minute,
appropriate.
it's like it's back, and yeah, and I still remember those days where it's like it came to the U.S. and we were like a year behind. So like, Doctor
Yeah.
Who came back in 2005, and it was 2006 they were playing the Eccleston stuff, and then, the next year they were playing the David Tennant, first season, and then like at some point we synced up enough that we weren't like behind,
Right.
which was cool because I mean, imagine everybody knowing about the awesomeness of the 50th anniversary and we're behind. Like I still remember like when Night of the Doctor,
Yeah.
when that dropped, which first of all, I did find out something very interesting. Night of the Doctor actually dropped a couple of days early.
Oh, it
Did you know
did.
that? It
No,
did. Now, do you know why?
no.
It dropped early because apparently BBC found out there was going to be a leak. And so what
Ah,
they decided was to drop it early so that way you didn't have people being like, "Oh, wow, cool, Armageddon's back." It's like instead it's, "Hey, we're dropping Night of the Doctor early, and guess what? Oh wow, Armageddon's back." So if anyone was going to leak it, they're now sitting there and they're like, "Damn it, damn
yeah.
it, my plans have been thwarted." But yeah, I still remember. I remember. That's another one. That's another great Patricia memory because she texts me. She texts me and she says, "Get online right now." And I'm just like, okay. So she had sent me the link. I opened the link, and then I start the thing, and then you get Magan showing up and going, "I'm the doctor, but probably not the one you're expecting." I
Yeah.
had to pause it. I had to pause it, and then I had to channel my inner David Tennant and go, "What? What? What?" And then I also think I think I repeat. I don't remember what I sent to my wife, but also at the end, where he regenerates and Doctor no more. I'm just like, holy cow! OMG! Ah, I can't believe it.
I think
I
that,
was just like,
we've entered the phase where, because I remember hearing when David Tennant became the Doctor about how he
yeah,
was a fan growing up.
yep,
And he's my age, maybe a little younger than me. And it's like, isn't it weird when suddenly the people who were the fans in the 70s and the 80s
yeah.
are now the people behind the modern versions of Doctor Who? It just kind of throws you for a loop because first of all, it starts to talk about how old we really are. And and then it's the fact that the show's now been around long enough that this
Yep.
generation grew up, well, actually this generation grew up watching the new version. The
Yeah.
new version was created by people who grew up watching the 60s, 70s, and 80s version.
Yeah.
And it just after a while, and we talk about timey-wimey, holy crud. It
Oh yeah.
just it's so wild that something we talk about Star Trek this way too. You've got this little show that started back in the 60s, and it was always designed to be a kids show, although I feel like they always had, when I say mature themes, I don't mean like Grand Theft Auto mature themes, but
Yeah.
they talk to the kids straight. They didn't dumb it down. Even the earliest versions of Doctor Who, none of it was ever dumbed down. As a matter of fact, it was rather educational. Some of it not always the most accurate, but it just it was
Well,
kind of cool the way it had its little it was always a good fun show with its
yeah.
deep
Well,
moments.
I was gonna say. I mean, yeah, it was supposed to be family viewing and a quote unquote kids show, but this was a kids show that had adventures like the Aztecs.
That's exactly the one I was
You
thinking
know,
about too.
where the doctor, I mean, it's like, well, first of all, you have them visiting Aztec times, but there's no monster. It's not like you had some alien being pretending to be Quetzalcoatl. It was just no monster, and the doctor just basically going, "Look, yeah, the Aztecs practiced human sacrifice. Yeah, they did this." we're not, but we're not like,
But we can't judge by
we
today's
can't.
eyes.
Yeah, we can't judge by today's standards, and we cannot mess around with the time stream. We
Yes.
can't screw up, time and space according to how, things were with the Aztecs, because our modern sensibilities are hurt. Like, we can't do that. We can't mess around with that.
Absolutely, totally
I mean,
agree.
yeah, the sets were not exactly,
No,
Oscar caliber, as it were.
unfortunately, it was
and
very
and yeah,
typical of most TV shows at that
yeah,
time. They were, the walls moved a little bit.
yeah. Well,
the,
and
the,
not to
the, the
mention that,
magic didn't always function.
yep. And we didn't have to, we did have moments where, we did have things where, yes, this obviously Aztec looking actor is really from Sheffield. Doesn't he
Yes,
look so much like an Aztec, kids? It's like, not really, but sure.
right.
Sure,
For
whatever you
I
say.
have
Yeah.
to say, for the typical content of the time, when you look at the 60s and you look at TV shows, they were actually still very
Yeah.
very progressive, considering, and certainly
Oh
better
yeah.
than some of the fare that you could get on typical American TVs if it wasn't for PBS. And I just have to say that PBS in the 60s and the 70s, that gave us Sesame Street, Electric Company, and thank you very much, Doctor Who. American
Oh yeah.
audiences probably would
Yep.
have never been exposed to original Who if it wasn't for the fact that as far
Oh
back as the
no.
60s, they were covering episodes. And almost every place you went, you could find Doctor Who on your local PBS channel.
Yep. Yep. And hey, not to interrupt, but you know what? Good news. Still haven't tracked down Mark yet, although it does look like he might now be in ancient Egypt. I think that hieroglyphic does look like it's wearing his glasses. We do have Zion. We actually, hey Zion, glad to see you made it.
Hi.
We heard about you being trapped in that time, Eddie, and we've been working to try to get you out. Looks like it did work.
I, are you sure? Because I did something. I I wouldn't leave the doctor alone. So
Uh-oh.
he made that face.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know what? As long as you didn't use time travel for your own selfish ends and get like a hole in your head that can open up when somebody snaps their fingers, we're all okay. If you did that, I'm gonna have to.
You're on your own, boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give you the number for my cousin who's a surgeon. See about closing that up.
I probably going to have to call Booster Gold or something, but he probably just stay out of it because it's the doctor.
Don't worry, we'll figure something out. I have Rip Hunter's number on speed dial. At least I think this is his number. I'm not sure. No, I'll have to try it out later. But yeah, getting back to what we were talking about, Doctor Who, 60 years, our experiences with Doctor Who. I think the other thing, anyone who's been a fan of Mark Who 42 since the very, very beginning, about a decade ago. We tried to start things off and make it kind of almost, radio play-ish and take on character names and stuff. And I have to admit, part of me was inspired. Vicky, I know you're a big comics person. Do
Yeah.
you remember the old Power Man and Iron Fist comics from like the 70s and 80s?
Yeah. Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but do you remember there was a character named Professor Alphonse Gamble? Do you remember him?
Oh, hang on. I'm accessing the recesses of my mind. It sounds really familiar. What did he do?
Professor Gamble showed up like in a couple of issues. You know, he's shown up in a couple of comics here and there. But essentially, he is a Doctor Who pastiche. He's like a pastiche of the Doctor. You know, he has a time traveling house that can change appearance, that is supposedly bigger on the inside, and he actually has like his, you know, arch nemesis are a group of time traveling robots called incinerators that roll around on the ground and keep yelling incinerate, incinerate.
Oh my
Gee,
gosh.
Gee, what does that sound like?
You would think that I would remember that character.
Well, he
But
only showed up a
yes.
couple of times.
Okay.
I know that in a later appearance, they actually linked him to the TVA from Loki. You know, from what we know to be the Loki series.
Interesting.
So they actually linked him to they said, you know, he was a member of the TVA. So it's like, so yeah, you know, I guess hey, you can't have the Time Lords, but you know, we do have something close.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
The TVA. So
You know,
yeah.
it's funny. Things start to mesh in your mind. After a while, you start to get old and addled, which I may have crossed over.
I know.
But
I also know. I remember. I mentioned this a few times. I don't know if I went last time I did, but I also know that The Simpsons. I know The Simpsons has had some Doctor Who references, and there were a couple of times when they actually had Doctor Who. It was represented by Tom Baker, or at least Tom Baker's version of the Doctor. Like there was the episode with Sideshow Bob threatening to launch a nuclear bomb unless they totally got rid of television. And I remember there was at one point where, you know, you have a bunch of people in a war room and it's like, oh, we need to bring in the esteemed representatives of television. And, you know, there was an older looking gentleman who looked like Urkel. And then, yeah, there was Tom Baker, you know, Tom Baker's Doctor. And I remember that Simpsons Treehouse of Horror Halloween special where you had Bart and Lisa get superpowers. One of the people held captive by, you know, the comic store guy as the bad guy was again Tom Baker's Doctor.
You also had that that Star Wars special from Family Guy where they was traveling through hyperspace and it ended up just being Tom Baker's intro. Head and all.
Oh yeah, that was cool. And I want to say there was an episode of The Simpsons that was kind of making fun of, you know, had like a scene that made fun of Love Actually style rom-coms. And it actually had, you know, people were then dancing in Parliament, and you had the TARDIS actually showed up, and then Winston Churchill, I think, walked out and started breakdancing. And it's like,
oh wow,
it's like, yep, another Doctor Who reference. But
there is a lot of it. It's kind of funny because there were some people who, if they hadn't seen Doctor Who until the new series, either because of the generational split or because they just weren't exposed to it, it's kind of funny how many pop culture references to Doctor Who exist between Simpsons and Futurama and Family Guy and the number of TV shows, including ones that don't have any connection directly with other British shows, but you know, the number of places that I read somewhere there was this, like, you know, instead of finding the Mickey head in Disneyland, it's find the Dalek in various TV shows.
Oh yeah, and on that,
there'll be Daleks on shelves.
Yep, and you know what? And on that note, though, we do, you know, we're here on Subspace, and we do unfortunately have commercials, but we are going to commercial. But when we come back, maybe we will do more of Spot the Doctor, Spot the Dalek, Spot the Doctor and the Daleks. But yeah, we'll do, you know, go do your, you know, everybody, you know, go take a break, you know, go to the fridge, go to the water closet, and we'll be right back.
Live 34.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
Toycast is back. We are talking toys once more here on the Geekcast Radio Network's Toy and Action Figure podcast. From breaking into the display case to our Toy Topic Talk and the brand new Origins in Toy Collections, where we get guests to tell us their toy story of how they got into toy collecting. Toycast is the only toy podcast you will ever need. Find us on geekcastradio.com and any podcatching client you choose to use. Now go forth, transform and transcend your toy collecting today while listening to Toycast.
You are listening to Mark Who 42's Universe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Mark 42 on Subspace Radio as we celebrate Doctor Who Podcast Day, which is on Wednesday, August 9th. I'm your host, Eduardo M, and I'm here with Vicky Jakubowski, Zion Quiros. Mark update. Apparently I have a picture, it looks like a painting taken from a sketch at Gettysburg, and I think I see Mark. He's curled up in a ball. Is that supposed to be tears, or is it just the drawing's that bad?
No.
I don't know. If it is what it is, yeah, he's crying like a baby.
He's in the Gettysburg exhibit in the Space Museum.
Ooh.
Okay.
I am so sorry,
Okay.
Mark. You are stuck there.
Yeah, well, you know what? Hopefully he can get out, and hopefully the fact that I found him, hopefully
Well, at least he's no longer on trial with the Salem witches, so he's a little ahead. He's a little ahead.
But then again, I mean, did he go to Gettysburg before Salem or after? It's like that's the problem with time travel.
Never in a straight line.
Never in a straight line. You'll run into somebody, and you'll be like, "It's you," and they'll be like, "I've never met you before." And then all of a sudden, but then it's like, yeah, you would have run into them like 2 months ago, and they'll just be like, "Oh yes, Vicky Jakubowski, how are you?" And you'll be like, "I'm sorry, who are you?" And they'll just be like, "You'll say that now." Yeah. That's just annoying. But what isn't annoying and kind of fun, before we went on, before we did our little break so that everybody could grab a drink, grab some food, head to the restroom. Before that, we were talking, you said the joys of playing games like Stop the Dalek and things like that. You of course spotted the Dalek in the obvious one, right? Which was Rugrats.
Oh.
Yeah, in one episode.
That's fun
They're on
when you have
shelves.
those little one-offs. It's kind of like I've noticed that with other characters where you'll have them. You kind of wonder, is it set dressers of the TV show or the movie? Are they the fans? Was it a joke? I mean, I understand that as far back as the Avengers, not the Marvel, but the Avengers, the British TV show. There was a shot of a toy shop.
Yep. Emma Peel in the black spandex.
Yep. And there was Dalek toys on a shelf in a toy shop. And I read that and I was like, that is the funniest thing, because you wouldn't think about it. But because it is, even people who are not as well versed in Doctor Who, some of the characters, people recognize them. They may not remember where they recognize them from, but prior to the reboot, it was all over the place, and you kind of gotta really like that.
The comic company IDW, which did have the Doctor Who license for a little while. In fact, they had it during the 50th anniversary, and they did that really great miniseries, Prisoners in Time. Larry Hama came back to write a G.I. Joe comic that from where his Marvel run left off. But there was, a recurring character who actually, ran things from like a little, curio shop, and she had a full-size TARDIS like in the shop, and it led to like a secret room, and that showed up at least a couple of issues. We had the little TARDIS thing, and the demon granny, that was her name. She led a couple of the Joes into the secret room, and that was fun. That was like a fun little Easter egg. It shows that even something as America as GI Joe, even that has like a Doctor Who reference.
But we missed the biggest one.
Okay.
At least in terms of IPs, Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Okay.
In Looney Tunes Back in Action, there's a Dalek, right front and center.
Yep.
So as far as I
No, and actually,
as far as I know, I think that's the only one that actually moves. I think it even says exterminate or something along those lines.
Nice.
Yeah, I think actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, Daleks also show up in the Lego Batman movie.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Now,
Lego Doctor Who.
Now, okay. Now I know with that one, they kind of had to, they kind of had to do some wriggling around, because they don't call them Daleks, they call them British robots. But I do believe they do, but I do believe it's obvious that they're Daleks, and I do think they do say exterminate.
It's kind of
we do have
because like they have the license for Lego, don't they?
Yeah, but you know what? It might just
did.
it might just be. I mean, it might just be that like they have the license to do the toys, but having them actually in a movie is like a different thing. It's it's one of those things.
We had to get Terry Nation involved.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, hey, let's not forget that for the longest time, James Bond could use Blofeld. So, we didn't have, and hey, and then, before that, the last time that Blofeld showed up, was a kind of a bit of an embarrassing cameo at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
I'll get you a delicatessen in stainless steel. It's like, wow, that's that is not the best way for the leader of Spectre to go.
But it's clear that Doctor Who has got this influence.
Oh yeah.
And even people who are not huge fans, it's just it's kind of gotten everywhere. The same way you'll see a lot of things with Star Trek. Again, here you've got a science fiction show that started in the 60s and has had a long reach beyond what most people, well, nobody would have predicted at the time. But
no, especially for something that like clipped its way to 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, and the other thing that gets me is it just, it's like in many ways, I mean, I think Doctor Who, you do the comparison with Star Trek. In many ways, I think Doctor Who even surpassed Star Trek, because it's like, it started off as this little, cheesy black and white show that ended up lasting over 2 decades. And, it didn't just, when it ended, it didn't just fade into obscurity. It stayed in the public consciousness and then actually managed to get itself revived. And the revival is still going on strong. We're going to get to a point where we've hit 20 years of New Who.
Now that blows my mind.
We could, it's, I mean, hopefully we'll get to a point where New Who will match, if not surpass, Old Who in terms of time on our TV screens.
Wow.
I mean, that is something like, holy cow. We actually like New Who right now, and I hesitate to use the word New Who. I mean, I don't even know if modern Who is a word we can use. Imagine, we're going to get to a point where, if it can last a couple of more seasons, to 2025, It will have been around for 20 years. It'll have been 20 years since Christopher Eccleston showed up in that department store where Billy Piper's
Yeah.
Rose Tyler worked. I mean, that is like, holy cow. Yeah.
And I just want to put out something,
Mind-blowing.
right?
You know,
Everything that we just said, right,
you know,
only applies to this show because I want to point something. You have Star Wars, right? It starts off right off rip. Because Star Trek starts off with Salt Monster, right? The Twilight Zone started with something along space madness. This show is about a man and her daughter and his granddaughter in a police box, and they went back to the dawn of man and had to deal with fire. And here we are, still dealing. The TARDIS has not fired a single shot. Still, in all this time, I don't think I'm almost certain the TARDIS has not fired a single shot. A finger laser blast, whatever, blah blah.
That's true.
That's not fighter. It's a completely peaceful travel machine. The Doctor, sure, you have times where like Tom Baker does snap a neck, and like, and Pertwee does shoot something out of existence, sure, but like for 99.9% of it, he's a pacifist. He tries to turn the other chick and show that there's other ways to be done. Because let's all be honest here, we've seen it be done. The Doctor can pop a sun like it's a balloon, but does he choose to? No. Most of the time.
You know, also, I mean, you bring up a good point, Zion. You know, one of the things about the Doctor, even when he doesn't, you know, even when he doesn't turn the other cheek, even when he doesn't try to like keep things peacefully, he's mainly about outsmarting his enemies. You know, he's mainly about outthinking them. You know, he's about playing, you know, he's about playing chess when, you know, his enemies are playing checkers, or even if they are playing chess, you know, he's playing three-dimensional chess.
Yeah.
You know, he has, you know, he has like moves planned out, you know, while his enemies are, you know, while his enemies think they have him outsmarted, or even if they do outsmart him, it just takes the Doctor like a minute to catch up and be like, oh, wait a minute, they didn't do this. Excuse me while I exploit that. So, you know, that's the thing. He's such a great, unique hero because it's not about grabbing a laser gun and, you know, shooting the alien. You know, it's about like, you know, it's about taking this alien and, you know, this dim-witted alien, and then being like, would you like a jelly baby? You know, it's about, you know, saying things like, a wonderful butler, he's so delightfully violent. You know, it's
and also, you know, like,
and it's
the fact that like it's weird that the TARDIS, of course, is designed as a police box now, right? But we can literally say that it has taken the image. Like, the police box is no longer the police box; it's a TARDIS. It is the TARDIS. And then, what is the TARDIS? It is a 1960s police box. Because now we live in 2022, and there's no more police boxes around. So it's literally became, in essence, its own thing. Like on let's do like reference back and such. Like, for example, like you have the Millennium Falcon. It's just a Millennium Falcon. You have the Enterprise, and it's the Enterprise, and you had to make the Enterprise, and you had to make the Millennium Falcon. But the TARDIS, someone was, I promise you, someone was driving along the street, saw it, and said, "That's it. There's our spaceship." And they still run with it. The jokes like, that's your police, that's your spaceship. Yes. And still to this day, 50 plus, 60 plus years later, somehow they made the police box cool. Like, sometimes I look at it and I get goosebumps. And that makes zero sense. But this show made it sound somehow that the police box is one of the coolest things to ever exist. And it takes a very, 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 very unique and good show to do that.
Yeah, no, and it's also one of those things. I mean, it's become a worldwide symbol, and it's something that is just so. One of the things is it's also a symbol of how uniquely British this show is, because police boxes are a British institution. they're not, it's you don't have them in America, you don't have them anywhere else. It shows the show's roots, and it's become actually, the police box has become a part of, just the iconography of the show, to the point where it's like you associate a police box more with this science fiction fantasy show than you do with its actual function.
Yes, and it's so like it's literally stuck that way now. Like sure, like the show us wants you to say it was stuck like that, but then they changed it in like I think Attack of the Cybermen, and everyone said no, put it back, change it back right now, break that community circuit again, and he broke it again, and here we are. And I promise you, if any writer decided to do it again, it will never happen again because they'll just
No. The fans.
But if it was ever to happen again, you'd actually get World War III.
Yeah, no. I think it's busted chameleon circuit. I think everybody in universe and out have like no problems with the chameleon circuit being busted. They're all like, yeah, no.
It's become too iconic. They couldn't change it now if they wanted to.
Yeah, which again, I don't think anybody wants to. I don't think you can find a single person who is familiar with the show, who's a fan of the show, who would ever want to fix that busted chameleon circuit.
We all want our little blue box.
No. I think the only time you would ever run into somebody who would want to fix the chameleon circuit, who'd want to fix that, is somebody who's not familiar with the show, who'd want to be like, well,
what else does it do?
Like it's one of those things. I mean, this is my cynic coming out. I could see, some Hollywood exec, like they want to do an American version of Doctor Who, and they'll be like, well, some people might not be familiar with an English police box, so why don't we do this? And it's like, no.
I don't think we could do anything but now.
To do that. Yeah. No, it's one of those it's one of those things. Like I have like a list of stuff that should never be remade, never be tinkered with. One of those is The Godfather. And I would say another one is the other one is Doctor Who. Like it doesn't need an American version, an American remake. Because it's just so unique. It's just so, it doesn't need like
unique is good, and there's too often there's these thoughts of, oh well, we have this formula, so now we're going to either translate it to American or just, well, we're going to capture on that. And while they were able to do talking about offshoots, we've got, of course, the Torchwood series and the Sarah Jane Chronicles series, which did very well, but they were both short term because they could never replace Doctor Who. They could add to it. They could be, I know Torchwood was that 3 or 4 seasons, including the one done by HBO.
Stars. It was Stars that did Miracle Day.
Was it Stars? Oh,
it was Stars that did Miracle Day. Yeah.
And then
what? You know what? Yeah.
And then Sarah Jane probably could gone on longer if it wasn't for the death.
Yeah, Liz Sladen. Yeah.
Yes.
But at least see those. Those were spin-offs.
Exactly.
And those.
I don't think you can replicate this exactly. I don't think that, I know we are in the world of everything's a reboot or a continuing saga, or it just, when they brought it back in the early 2000s, I'd like to point out it was brought back by fans like us who weren't looking to change it. They did bring it into the current century, and they did an exceedingly good job, and they're doing an exceedingly good job. And I think that it just too many times people want to tinker with a formula or tinker with, what the general gist of something is. But then you have these shows that have been around for years, decades, whatever, and people keep coming back to them because people like that. And
Yeah.
just, not everyone who is a new Who fan likes the old series. The 60s ones, some of them are definitely hard to get through because you look at it and you go, oh, little clunky. But not all of them.
Yeah.
And a
No,
lot of
and-
people can enjoy the older series, even if they don't like it as much as they like the new series. And vice versa.
Yeah, no, and it's and it's like you also talk about oh, the need to it's like just the need to toy, the need to tinker. A couple of examples. I know that in 90, oh man, I'd say 98, we did have an adaptation of British Avengers. It starred, I know it starred Ralph Fiennes as
Oh, I forgot. Yes, the
John
movie.
Steele, and and then we had Uma Thurman as Emma Peel,
And they should have been fine, but they weren't.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I don't fault the casting. It's just I don't know, it was just something about film didn't translate and didn't
Right.
capture.
I felt like they were trying to make a blockbuster, and the
Right, yeah, they weren't
series
trying to-
was a nice slow burn.
Yeah, they were focused. I think it's like they were focused much on the idea of, well, we cast Uma Thurman and we can't wait to get her in the black cat suit.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. It's just that it's one thing
Wrong
that's part of
focus.
the greater right. It's one thing that's part of a greater whole. So, that's wrong focus. The other thing I would say is, having the other thing I'd say is Godzilla from like about the same year.
Yeah.
That, we tried to do, let's do an American Godzilla, and it's like people hated the look, and it turned into a Jurassic Park clone. It's like, hey, we've got a giant monster movie. Oh, let's have a scene where we have baby Godzillas running around Madison Square Garden.
Right.
It's like, why? It was trying to reinvent the wheel when
not
the wheel
necessary.
was fine. When nobody said the wheel needed to be reinvented. I mean, it kind of it speaks volumes that the 98 Godzilla. Well, first of all, that the Japanese are like, okay, in our little continuity, it's a separate creature named Zilla, and then I believe it was Godzilla Final Wars that
where it
Zilla
blew
shows up in the beginning and gets its butt like thoroughly kicked.
Yes.
Before we run out of time, does anyone want to talk about favorite episodes?
Ooh.
Oh jeez. Oh man.
That's always hard for me.
Yeah, no, me too, because there's so many. I would say, okay, all right. I would say, okay, classic series. If I had to choose one, I'd say Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah.
If I had to choose modern, I'm gonna go. This isn't really an episode per se, but you know what? I'm gonna count it. I would say Day of the Doctor.
Ooh.
For me, if we're talking about singular episodes and not storylines, the Space Museum Part 1. I think that's single-handedly the best episode of Doctor Who in all of the series. Stories, this is just a personal thing, but greatest show in the galaxy. That story is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, but then we got Killer Clowns.
Killer Clowns that got blown up by the Seventh Doctor. Let's go.
Okay, I mean, but still, it's like having a clown driving around in a hearse. It's like, yeah, let's ratchet that up. Let's ratchet that up to 11. Well, we do have that scene where the Doctor walks away from the exploding tent like a boss.
Yes, with just only one shot. They only had enough explosives for that, and he couldn't flinch. So he just didn't flinch.
Yep.
Shout out to Sylvester McCoy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. What about you, Vicky?
Well, I
Quickly,
agree. Genesis of the
favorite.
Daleks is one of my favorites, if not my top favorite,
Yep.
from the classic series. It's just I talk about deep themes
Yep.
and everything else, and then it gets really hard in the New Who because I like some for different reasons. The Shakespearean Code because
Oh yeah.
my first degree is in William Shakespeare, and so that's a very near and dear to my heart, and the meaning of words and how they can impact things. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's just it gets really hard, and then I'm not gonna lie, and of course it's the least Who one out there, but it's Blink because it's so well done. The only thing that's bad about it is it doesn't have enough of the Doctor in it. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is okay. It is a Doctor Light, but it's very Doctor Who, despite
but
being
it's
Doctor
very
Light.
Doctor Who. And the more I hear stories about the making of it, and like David Tennant
Yep.
just had his lines, he didn't know what the answers to or what the questions he was answering was when he was making the clip that becomes the video in it. I mean, it's cool stuff, and it's well written, it's well acted, and even though I don't like every episode of every Doctor Who ever, because some of them are weak, I have found something to enjoy or like about everything. I have liked on some level every Doctor, which is weird.
Yeah.
And I do like some more than others. It's just always going to be that way. The fact that I can sit there and watch even the ones that I don't enjoy as much, I can still have it on. I got BritBox and I just put on the classic series. I have several on DVD. I have all the New Who on DVD. And I can just say, okay, it's going to be on while I'm working. I can look up and laugh or go, oh my God, I forgot about that. And
Yeah.
I just, I love that because it's like a comfort food. Doctor Who is a comfort food to me.
Yep. And you know what? On that note, that's a great
no.
note. That's a great note. That unfortunately we have to end on, at least here on Subspace. We've lost our time here on Subspace, but you know what? Join us on our other feed, or if you're listening to us on that other feed, stick around because we are going to talk more Doctor Who, and you know what? We're going to look, I think, a little bit to the future. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming 60th, and things like that. So stick if you're on the regular podcast feed, stick around. And if you're on Subspace, it's been nice. I've been Eduardo M with Vicky Jakubowski and Zion Quiros. Please join us on the podcast feed. Keep the party going.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
Oh, hey, I got something.
Since 2009, we have been the premier cartoon podcast here at the Geekcast Radio Network. We are Tooncast, from taking you beyond the cartoons we grew up with to seasonal saucy toon talk, and now we get the origins of toonsters everywhere as we ask guests 30 questions about their cartoon watching experiences, plus so much more. Tooncast is back. Join me, TFG and Mike, and the rest of the GCRN crew as we give you all the toon talk you will ever need, only on the GCRN, and wherever you consume your podcasts. We are beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination. We are all tunes all the time here on Tooncast. Yeah.
Hey, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you stuck around. You to the regular podcast feed, or that's what you were listening to this on anyway, which, hey, thanks for doing that. And if you just joined us from the Subspace radio feed, hey, welcome to the party. Grab a drink. Grab a drink. Grab a chair. Sit down. We were all watching about Doctor Who because, hey, it's Doctor Who Podcast Day on August 9th, Wednesday. And, plus, hey, Doctor Who is going to be celebrating its 60th anniversary, which, yeah, we really
Wow.
haven't talked about that. We've talked about the past of Doctor Who, haven't gotten into the future. But hey, before we do that, Vicky, I think you said there was something you wanted to talk about.
I did. Of course, offshoot of Mark Who 42 is, of course, Mark Who 77, where Mark Who gets together with the 77 publications, a great comic book publication house out in the UK. And we've been doing quite a few shows with them also, which you can catch on the 77 Publications Facebook. You can also find it on the 77 Publications YouTube channel. And we've had a lot of tie-ins with Doctor Who. We've talked with some of the comic book artists and writers who have done Doctor Who themselves, like Steve Parkhouse and John Wagner and Mike Collins. So you can get more Doctor Who and other fun sci-fi, fantasy, fanboy, fangirl fun on Mark Who 77. So don't forget to check out our sister channel.
Ooh. And of course, if you guys ever talk to Simon Furman, I so want to sit in on that one.
You got it.
Of course, you're going to have to help me because I would probably be doing Furmanisms the entire time.
So I'd have to kick you a few times under the table.
You probably would. You probably would, because I would just be like end of the interview. I would just be so tempted to be like, it's over, it's finished.
So now, the future of Doctor Who.
The future, yeah. Well, we know that there's, I want to say it's like 3 to 4 specials coming,
Right.
like a handful of specials coming. They're supposed to celebrate the 60th anniversary. We have David Tennant back as the Doctor. This time he is apparently the 14th Doctor.
I love it.
As to why?
I think we'll find out.
We're not sure. Yeah, we'll find out. We know that Neil Patrick Harris is playing the villain. I believe the rumor is he's the Celestial Toymaker, but I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen anything official, but I've heard
Yeah.
that too, and I think that would
Yeah.
be very cool.
Like I've heard, we know he's in it. We've seen footage of him in like 2 different looks. One, he looks like Geppetto's evil twin brother, and then another, he kind of looks like he walked off the stage from Cabaret. So it's like, it'll be interesting to see, like, which, what the deal is.
Right.
So it's. And what the and then also what the deal is with why is David Tennant back? Like why does the new doc why does post Jodie Doctor look like David Tennant? That's one. One thing I'm actually also the other thing that I'm also wondering about is, are we going to get in addition to David Tennant, Russell T Davies came back.
Yes.
He's still running again. The other thing, one thing that I'm wondering about is what are we we do have in addition to the 14th Doctor looking like David Tennant, Donna Noble's coming back. We're gonna get at least one more shot of Wilfred. Rest in peace, Bernard. Bernard Cribbins. The other thing is, it's like, is there? I'm kind of wondering, are we getting? Is it just going to be a? Is it just going to be the return of David Tennant, or do we have other previous Doctors like hiding that Russell is kind of hiding from us? Because I don't know, like I trust Russell T Davies, but there's a part of me that's like, okay, this is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You got to tell me, you got to tell me that there's more than just the return of David Tennant. You got to tell me that there's going to be something that's going to celebrate 60 years of Doctor Who.
Yes. See, like what you're saying is why I have problems with Day of the Doctor. Because
Okay.
sure we have that beautiful scene where they all show up and save Gallifrey and such, right? But
Yeah.
prior to that, it's just a Matt Smith, David Tennant episode. That's it. I can honestly say with pure honesty that what was the Power of the Doctor felt more of an anniversary episode than most of Day of the Doctor. It was only up until like the last third is when the anniversary feeling started actually kicking in, at least for me. And this also applies to this because as far as I've seen, it's a David Tennant revival. But again, it's the 60th anniversary. So
I think there's going to be more to it, though. I think that, they brought David Tennant back as everyone go that audible gasp when that happened, but there's going to be more to it. I just feel like there's going to be a deeper touch and there's going to be lots more things involved. But we also don't want it to devolve into the American tradition of an anniversary episode where it's favorite clips from the last 60 years.
Looking back again, I know that we're trying not to look back, but, for the sake of, for looking back, so for Doctor Who's 10th anniversary, we had the 3 Doctors, which put Hartnell, Troughton, and Pertwee together. The 20th with the 5 Doctors, which Tom Baker really didn't play with everybody else, but we had all 5 Doctors with Troughton, Pertwee, Troughton, Pertwee, Davidson together, and then we had then we also had we had somebody filling in for the late great William Hartnell as the first Doctor.
Right.
With and then Tom Baker appeared via archival footage. We didn't have anything for the 30th. We really didn't have anything for the 40th. But the tradition of multi Doctors at least does seem to be like an anniversary thing. As for Day of the Doctor not feeling like an anniversary special, okay, Day of the Doctor may have some issues, but we do have one thing that we do have though is we did have with before we had Day, we had Night of the Doctor, which was the surprise return of Paul McGann, and they did also throw in an Adventure in Space and Time.
Yeah.
Which brought, which was a nice little biopic about the making of Doctor Who. So we did have that. We did have that. We did have so it wasn't totally, it was a celebration. It just feels like, I think if we have to, if I have to put like a thing on it, I would say that it felt like a celebration where it wasn't just one gift. There were a bunch of gifts scattered throughout.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
Remember in Power of with the Doctor when we had that one amalgamation of like 5 through 7 and 8 as one face talking to a 13?
The whole Guardians of the Edge.
Yeah, that's a giant Easter egg, right? Of course. But my thing is this, right? Since it's so close to the 60th anniversary and the way it looks, do you think that they held back because of how much fan service was in Power of the Doctor? Because in essence, we only had what the one episode in between that. And then we get this. So if you want to think about it, if you add, I'm trying to think about it from a production point of view. If you add more fan service, like how we've been talking about, it becomes too thick because we've already had an episode already with a lot of fan service. Like Like we already brought back Davison, Baker, and McCoy. Are we going to do it again for this episode? Which again would make sense because it's the 60th anniversary, but we just had one. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, it based on like production logic, since we already had one, I don't think the 60th is going to be one for that. I think it's going to be an anniversary for New Who, even though I really don't like how that sounds, but it looks kind of like that, unless they're hiding
Who
stuff
knows?
completely under, which would be also
I
great.
mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it could be. I mean, it could go either way. It could be that Russell's hiding something. He's trying not to hype anything up because he's hiding, surprise. It could be that it's more based off New Who. I mean, I think when we were discussing Power of the Doctor, I think Mark said that it'll be more New Who. The stuff with David Tennant and Neil
Right.
Patrick Harris might be more about New Who, with Power of the Doctor kind of filling in, to give nods to Old Who, which to me is like, okay, that's not, I mean, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I would much rather have, something, I'd much rather the 60th anniversary cover everything. But you also don't want it to be, you don't want it to be simply just, a thing full of Easter eggs. You don't just want it to be a giant party. You kind of want to make sure that it makes sense. I mean, yeah,
It's a good
Day of the Doctor.
transition from the previous years into the newest Doctor.
Right, exactly.
How do we transition?
Exactly. And the other thing also is, you have, you look at Day of the Doctor, and while it's not perfect in its, it's not perfect in its executions of, I mean, we had to wait until the finale, to get this big, rah rah, here's all the, here's all the doctors, together at last, uniting to save Gallifrey. At least scattered throughout, we did have when they walked into the Black Archive, and there's all these images of past companions and characters.
Yeah.
We did have the return of the Zygons, for the first time since the 1970s. So, while we didn't have a big Doctor team up, we at least be involved. And I think that's the thing, you kind of do, you do want it to be, you do want to have a story and have it not just be, Doctor Who fan service, the movie, or
Right.
the anniversary special.
So how do they
you kinda wanna
balance
make,
the
you do wanna
anniversary
balance.
special to the transition to the new Doctor and not have it get clunky?
Yep. And also the other thing that gets into my mind is in Power of the Doctor, we did have the Guardians of the Edge, which brought back some classic guys. We did have Time Crash, which had Peter Davidson meet up with David Tennant. In Time Crash, we did have a reason why the Fifth Doctor looked the way he did. There was like this weird kind of timey-wimey, mess up thing. Guardians of the Edge, we could probably just, well, first of all, McGonn looks close enough to his doctor that, we can hand wave it that it's, and then the other one, it's just, I think the nature of the Edge of Existence, is why they look the way they did. But the thing is that in putting, we also had the curator in Day of the Doctor, who may not have been the Doctor. He just seems to look a lot like a previous incarnation. It's one of those things, putting in, doing a multi-Doctor story and trying to involve classic Doctors. How do you do that? How do you do that without having to constantly make an excuse? I mean, if he's up for it, you could get David Bradley to be the first Doctor again. But what do you do about, like, Troughton Pertwee, Tom Baker, Davidson, Collin, Sylvester McCoy. What do you do about that? How do you handle that?
Exactly.
Because it's like, oh,
To
but
be
great.
honest, I don't know. I understand that things are looked differently in UK than over here in terms of recasting. But
Yeah.
like when I think about that, I think about how Strange New Worlds is dealing with Kirk. Like you have to eventually recast William Shatner.
Yes.
He is human. So here we are at that point. And as far as I feel, I think everyone just accepted it and said, the dude's doing a fine job and it works.
Yeah.
So it's up until again how the BBC feels about someone recasting Patrick Troughton, because you can say that they did that in Adventure in Space and Time, but they didn't. They recasted Patrick Troughton, but they didn't recast the second Doctor. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, the third
Yeah.
Doctor is Patrick Troughton, the third Doctor is John Pertwee, and that's just final.
Well, I mean, they
Until
have
you sound like
recast. They
Hartnell
have
right now, but yeah.
recast. Yeah, they have recast the first Doctor twice.
Yes.
Because we had Richard Hundle, I think his name was.
Yes.
That did the first
Turnbull.
Doctor in the Five Doctors, and then we have David Bradley, who did for first for Twice Upon a Time, back with the 12th Doctor, and then we had and then so it's like they have recast the Doctor, one incarnation of the Doctor at least twice. So it would just be like, how do we, do we find, do we get Reese Shearsmith to be to be the second Doctor again, or do we just call it good? And I mean, it's like, how do you handle that? Because I mean, you do want the fans to be like, okay, yeah, that's cool, we get, you want the fans to not to be like, hashtag not my Doctor, hashtag not my Troughton or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys
I know
a
that.
question on the fan side of things?
Yeah.
So we all remember how everything was advertised for the 50th, right? How
Mhm.
it was the next coming of sliced bread.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like I'm getting crumbs. So
But do you think maybe
I
that's smarter?
No, I honestly don't. Because like when I think about the 50th anniversary, right? As much problems as I have with it, it did its job. When like I remember that trailer where you had all those sections of like the Doctor in like 3D, and it was shifting through like all his timelines, and then it got to Matt Smith, Day of the Doctor, grabs some screwdriver, points at the sky, save the day, blah blah, and chills. You know what was coming. You know why we're here. This is the Doctor Who anniversary, and we're going to the episode was nothing like that, but the trailer just trying to advertise the anniversary of the greatest or longest running sci-fi show of all time. It was there, and now I feel like we get these small little clips of the 3 episodes, and that's it.
Well, okay, now this is going to sound weird, but so 50 is Diamond Jubilee. We all know what 50 means. 60, yeah, it's also an important anniversary. It's even longer. It's great. But it's like, 25, 50, 75, 100. Those numbers are huge. And anytime something hits something like that, it's always huge. 60 is just not the same as saying 50. I know that sounds weird, but but there's also, we've just come out of a pandemic and things are a little bit different. Things are a little more muted than they were 10 years ago. And I'm always on the fence about, do I want a lot of splash and bang for a movie, a TV show, or whatever it is that I that's coming out, or do I want a little mystery and just show a little ankle and nothing else and make me interested that way? Because I can see both ways.
I
But
agree. But I want to ask you this question. We have the ratings of last season, and I'm going to be kind and say they weren't pretty.
yeah,
People are starting to watch Doctor Who. So if you want to get people to get back into Doctor Who, and let's all be honest here, this is why David Tennant is back. This is why RTD
oh,
is back.
certainly, because it brings back
We need
interest.
we need the viewership and the interest. So now I want to ask you this: we have Doctor Who on Disney Plus, right? It is August, September, October, November. That's 3 months. Have you seen one Disney Plus ad? No one has seen a Disney Plus ad. Not even me.
Not yet.
But it's supposed to be exclusively on Disney Plus for everyone but the UK. And again, it's the anniversary. So if you want to get out that this is the new era of Doctor Who, that this is a fresh new breath, or trying to point it as it, you wanted to at least get it out there. But we have 3 months left, and I haven't seen anything but, again, my 3 clips.
No, and I kind of wonder if I feel that lately, other than the fact that, we knew something was coming soon, the big hype for stuff is happening much closer to the date of an event than months and months out. It's an interesting, I'm going to call it an interesting phenomenon, and I can't help but wonder if it came from the lockdowns and everything. So now we're going to do things a little differently. Now we're going to, because I felt like, things like some of the big movies coming out. The Marvels are coming out in November, but I just started seeing massive commercials for it. Hell, in the last month. And they're pushing Loki that's coming out next month. And so I wonder if they're picking and choosing so they don't have too much overlapping.
I
could be wrong.
I agree with that, but I want to look at Ahsoka, because I've been seeing Ahsoka's ads for months. Because I'm a
Yes.
Star Wars person.
It's kind of weird the way that some things are way out there, but I almost feel like that we've gotten almost more of pictures for Ahsoka, and I'm like, and I can't wait.
But now, can I ask a similar question along with that? What if, okay, we are all assuming that RTD and David Tennant is going to strike lightning twice. I'm going to play a cynic here. I hate thinking this thought, because I love when Doctor Who is good. It is the greatest thing to me when Doctor Who is good. But what if lightning doesn't strike twice? What happens then? Because, as I said, there's no.
Now I can understand that.
There's barely any advertisement. So let's say that no one sees it outside of the Doctor Who fandom. And let's say, again, lightning doesn't strike twice and is bad. We are already at a deficit where people were already thinking about the wilderness years. And it scares me, because I love Doctor Who. I used to, when it was on BBC America, I used to go out of my way to give them my view, because I understood that the View ran the show. As long as the View's there, the show goes on. So I tried my ass off to give them my view, no matter what, because I love Doctor Who. But again, we're at a deficit, and we need advertisement. And again, there's no guarantee it's going to be good. We pray and hope it's going to be good. It's probably going to be good, but there's no guarantee. So if it is bad, Rassilon forgiving, then we are practically in the prime crosshairs for a wilderness years. So I want to ask
Yeah.
how you guys would think about that, or how would you accept a wilderness years in the event that this is bad?
Ooh. Oh, the what if game gets me every time because I can play devil's advocate like nobody. And here's the funny thing. If nobody else likes it, fine. Chances are I'm going to like it and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to hope that we don't have another break. But I don't know. Maybe I've been around the block too many times. I hope it continues. I hope that it gets new fans and that it is the spawn of another regeneration. But it's always going to be near and dear to my heart. And I do see what you're saying. I'm just going to keep on watching and keep my fingers crossed that the stories are good, the acting's good, and that more people go, oh, look at this show. I got to watch this.
Same here, and I hope that you're right that they do pick up the pace with the advertisement. Because again, like the Sonic Screw driver just came out, and I haven't heard anything about it, but it came out.
Well, and I wonder, what is the advertisement for it in the UK like versus the US? You know what I mean? I wonder if they hear more about it in the UK than we do. I wonder if there's a bigger press, shall we say.
That's always the case. But I'm of a different age, right? When Matt Smith was in, I was in high school and I would go to cons and such, and it was like it was everywhere. It was in Barnes and Nobles. It was in Target.
Oh yeah.
It was in Walmart.
Part of, I think, one of the things, well, it seems like downslope. Well, first of all, I think part of the reason, I think, Vicky, you bring up a good point that, I think you bring up a good point. I would love to know what is it like in the UK? Are they really pushing 60th in the UK? Because looking at the fact that Doctor Who's on Disney Plus, yeah, they've been pushing, Disney Plus has been pushing a lot of other stuff, like they've been pushing Ahsoka,
right?
And we've gotten a couple of great trailers for the Marvels. Yeah. But there's part of me that kind of wonders, is the reason why Doctor Who is kind of like off to the side? I kind of wonder, I mean, first of all, is it because it's not a Disney-owned thing? And they're trying to prioritize. It's not a Disney property.
They're just
they're trying to prioritize their own IPs over something that they're borrowing. Like for example, there was only I think I only saw a couple of ads for when they were bringing back Futurama.
Right.
And it's like they kind of own it right now since they own the Fox stuff, but it feels like they really weren't pushing it. The other thing that I have to wonder about is, part of it is that, yeah, Doctor Who, is not the juggernaut that it once was. I mean, yeah, you could go to Barnes and Noble and there was a huge, it had its own thing of DVDs and, graphic novels and, toys and stuff. And that kind of started dwindling. Of course, that did start dwindling once Matt Smith left and you had Peter Capaldi, then it kind of dwindled out, because for worse, having like this hot young lead, that helps. As much as we would want Doctor Who to be known for to be known for the story and stuff. If there are fans who would much rather see somebody like David Tennant or Chicky Godwin or Matt Smith in the role, and they don't care to see an older grouchy guy like Peter Capaldi, that is going to have an effect.
Yes.
That is going to have an effect.
Yeah.
So, it's the type of thing. we have two chances right now for lightning to strike twice, for the magic be out of the bottle again. Thing one is the return of David Tennant and the return of RTD. Is that going to the fact that it's going to be a nice nod to the glory days? It's like, hey, remember the banter back and forth between the Doctor and Donna? Here you go. It's RTD. Remember the RTD era? That was David Tennant. That was Christopher Eccleston. That was all this cool stuff.
Right.
But now it's back, so more cool stuff. And then we got Ncuti Gatwa coming in, and once again, it's a good-looking younger guy. It's like, hey, how many people are gonna, how many moms are gonna, sit on the couch with their kids watching Doctor Who, to get a little bit of Ncuti, get their Ncuti fix. So it's like, maybe that will bring stuff back, maybe it won't, we don't know. And as far as like a Return of the Wilderness years, I felt almost like, well, with this whole, with the fact that we've been in this desert with regards to the 60th, it almost feels like a wilderness period.
Yes.
Because we haven't had anything. We haven't had anything of Doctor Who. And it's like, it just feels like a wilderness. It felt like a wilderness a little bit during the Chibnall Jodie era, where we just went so long without content.
Right.
So, it's like, I really hope we don't get another wilderness year. I wouldn't be surprised, and it would be unfortunate. At the least, we have like more content, and at the least, we still have Titan doing comics. We still have coming out. Finish is still out there. So, at the least, if we do have another wilderness period, we have ways to survive it. We won't starve.
You just turned on my light bulb. So I want to ask you a question, or ask everyone a question here. In the event that this is good, right? Because I'm again real hoping that this is going to be 10 out of 10. In the event it is, right? We all know how this show is. Peaks and valleys, more so than any other show I've seen. You have it good, you have it really bad. So my question is this: when it's really bad again, what's stopping them from digging up Moffat and Matt Smith, or just trying again with someone else? Because this show for 60 years has been progress. We do one thing, we are trying to do education. Okay, we move on from that. Science base, space base. Okay, move on from that. Now we're on Earth problems. Move on from that. Okay, now we're back to science stuff, but with gothic. Okay, move on from that. Hard sci-fi. Move on from that. And now here we are now with drama and certain stuff, but we're mixing with different other showrunners and such. Now, again, we've brought back RTD. This is the first time in 60 years that we've ever doubled back. Not even with a showrunner, but with a doctor. So far, they've came in pairs. We've had RTD and Eccleston and Tennant, Moffat, Smith, Capaldi, Chibnall, and Jodie. So my question is that, let's say that we go down like 3-4 more showrunners and 3-4 more doctors, and then the show gets into a dip. What's stopping the BBC from saying, okay, let's dig up back Dr. 17 and make them this and this again? Because we're at a weird crossroads in the show's history, because now we've actually given the option to double back.
Yeah, well, see, to me, I feel like what this will hinge on is what happens during the second run of David Tennant.
Yes.
Which is, here's the thing: is the 14th Doctor going to be a clone of 10th? Or is he wearing 10's face, but this is a different animal?
Yes, that's what I'm hoping it is.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's what it hinges on. Because if it's, well, see, that's a double-edged sword in and of itself, because if it's the return of David Tennant, this
yeah, you're
doctor
right.
is nothing like the 10th Doctor. You know, are the complaints going to be, hey, why did you give us, why'd you tell us that you were going to give us David Tennant back? But then, he's not the same. The other thing is that
you're right.
the other thing is that maybe he's, if he's different enough, that maybe, the plus side of that would be that, it makes it, not, we don't have to worry about the, we don't have to worry about the fact that, I mean, you do have a legitimate concern, Zion, and I share that with you, in the sense that it's a dangerous precedent to think that whenever there's a problem, we could just, let's call back, hey, Stephen Moffat, do you want to come back and you can bring back Matt Smith? Oh, look, the 20th Doctor looks just like the 11th. That's kind of a dangerous thing. It's where, it also hinges on, how many times is David Tennant, Matt Smith, and then, let's say Jodie, willing to come back.
Right.
Because it's like, let's say that, if you were to ask people, if you could have any of the modern Doctors back, who would you want? And we get like a tie between Matt Smith and David Tennant. Those are the Doctors that people want to see back. And it's like, well, just how many times can you pull that trigger before it gets, before it gets old? Or, even, and that's even if they would want to come back and be another Doctor, because there's also what happens if, like, the only way to recapture the magic is to get, David Tennant back, and he's like, nope, I did my time, I'm done. Then it's like, what are you going to do now? It's just, I mean, it's the same thing like when Jodie, when it was announced that there was going to be, the possibility of a female Doctor, and they announced it was Jodie, I was happy. I like how Jodie's Doctor came out, especially because, like, for example, what you also don't want is, in this attempt to, get the, get like the fans excited, that we have a Doctor that, they're supposed to be the Doctor, but they don't act like it. Like, they don't, it doesn't feel like the Doctor, because, like, for example, you can female Doctor, but then her outfit is, like, peels, this tight, spandexy type stuff. You have, I mean, I had that joke a long time ago. It's like, now that we have a female Doctor, this episode's going to take place on the beach planet, and she's going to be wearing a TARDIS blue bikini. And it's like, is that really what we need for a show like Doctor Who?
Right.
Like, is that really, does that really go? Because it's like, it's just like, is that, is that really going to help, or is that just going to, is that just going in is that destroying it to save it?
Right.
And I'm actually even going to go out on a limb right now. At a certain point, is it a bad thing to get a wilderness period?
See, now that's another question.
Yes and no.
Every answer brings more questions, but that's just how we are.
And that's Doctor Who in and of itself. You get, it's all about, but that's the thing. I mean, wilderness, we don't get Doctor Who on TV, but previous wilderness period is what gave us gave rise to Big Finish and the novelizations.
You can argue that we would not have the Doctor Who that we have right now if we didn't have the wilderness years.
Yeah, well, and think about it this way also, because of something like Big Finish, Colin Baker's Doctor got to be seen in a new light.
Yes.
After Big Finish came out, his Doctor was able to, get some
To expand.
expanded characterization. Now now Colin Baker is treated with a lot, his tenure is treated with a lot more respect.
Yes.
Now we're not so easy to go like, oh yeah, that Doctor choked out his companion. That's not
Right.
the first thing we think of. It's like, so, could this, could it be? And that's the thing. When Doctor Who came back after, after the wilderness period, it was reinvigorated, it was re-energized, and you've had a generation that didn't grow up with it that was able to discover it. So
Right.
it's one of those things. Would it be so bad? I mean, I hesitate. This is a hot take, and I'm pretty sure there are people who are listening right now and going, "Silence!" And it's like, look, I feel you. I mean, I would be not having Doctor Who on TV on a regular basis, on like a seasonal basis.
Right.
That would be bad. But then at the same time, what, as it's in hibernation, what could come out of said hibernation?
Yeah.
Right.
The $65 billion questions.
Uh-huh. Yep. That's the
It is
thing.
not
So many
a-
questions.
And honestly, it is a sound theory because again, is what you said. Without the show going away, we get no novels, we get no Big Finish, and maybe not even New Who or Who as it is when it came out in 2005. So
Yep.
yeah, is who knows? But Doom.
Nice.
You know what? I think that is a great that's a great bit to end on, because we have been talking we've been talking everybody's ear off, and and just I think this is one of those things we should probably put a cork in it, and and just, what, these are $1 million questions for another day. For now, we wait and see what develops. And,
Can't
I,
wait.
for one, can't wait. So with that, I've been, thank you for listening to us, whether you listen to us on the here in the podcast feed, Subspace Radio, or you listen to us secondhand because a friend of a friend of a friend told you, just thank you for listening. Don't forget, we can be found on Subspace, we can be found on our podcast feeds. We're I know Vicky and I, we're on Twitter, come find us. We're on Facebook, just keep listening. We'll be back with more content. And just don't forget, for what's the other channel, Vicky?
Oh, Marku 77.
Yep, Marku 77. Go with don't forget about Marku 77.
Nope.
And just be good to each other. And
534.
we'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, I'm back. Oh, I got souvenirs for all of you. Where is everybody? Did I miss the show? I set the coordinates for the right time. Am I even in the right place? Well, happy Doctor Who Podcast Day to all of our viewers out there. And allons-y. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Marku 42's Universe, featuring Mark Baumgarten, Eduardo M. Freyre, Vicky Jakubowski, and Zion Quiros. This show was produced and directed by Mark Baumgarten. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go to our Facebook page or email us at marku42s.universe@gmail.com. Our radio show airs weekly on Subspace Radio Network at www.subspace.radio and on iHeartRadio. You can listen to our old shows at our website, marku42.com, and many podcast platforms such as iTunes, Audible, and Pandora. And if you want to hear shows dating back to 2012 with over 150 celebrity interviews, try our YouTube page, Marku42. Marku 42's Universe, copyrighted 2023.